What's up, everyone? My name is James McCool. I'm the owner of PaydirtTFS.com. Today, we are going to be doing a showdown season, but in audio video form because I don't want to write tonight. I also want to make sure that I'm trying to mix up kind of media and content mediums a little bit more this year. So I'm going to be doing a little bit more of the video stuff like this, where we are just going through the models the same way that I would go through the models for the showdown season. So if you have not read a showdown season from me before, then what I do is I'll go through the contest simulations. I'll take a look at the range of outcomes, and then I'll use Portfolio Manager for some duplication understanding. So the first thing that we usually do here is jump over to the contest sims. Now I've just ran a regular contest sim for Buffalo and Miami. And came up with these results. So as usual, I'm not worried about this stuff. I don't really care about the lineups themselves. What I care about more is the players and the edges. So let's take a look at captains first. The highest overall edge belongs to Ray Davis and Ty Johnson, along with Matt Prater. A lot of cheap options in the top ranges, and we'll talk about that and why here in a second. But Devon Kane, Achan, whatever the fuck you call him, he is the most expensive player that has a positive edge overall in the captain. He's just the best player in the captain by far, I think. But there are other ways to also go about playing captain. The main thing that I actually take away from this is that we have a lot of neutral, right? Pretty much all of these plays, Khalil Shakir, Dalton Kincaid, Achan, Prater, Keon Coleman, Jalen Waddle, right? Like all these guys, these are all mostly neutral captains. The big negatives here are going to be Josh Allen and James Cook, along with Tyreek Hill. Now, that doesn't mean that you cannot play those guys, right? One thing that I always try to hammer home a little bit is if I sort this by exposure, Josh Allen is still the captain that wins the most at 23%. I just think that his ownership in the captain slot, the models think that his ownership in the captain slot is a little bit too high at 30%. So I'm not saying that you should not play Josh Allen in the captain. I'm just saying that he's a little bit over-owned in the captain. And you can absolutely make up negative 7% somewhere in the flex. And we'll talk about how we can do that here in a second. But I do think that it's important to kind of look at this and say, well, why are we getting these cheap guys in the captain? Why are we getting kickers in the captain? Why are we getting, Tanner Connor, whoever the fuck this is, in the captain? And it's mostly because when we go over into the flex, we see that the models just want to jam Achan and Josh Allen, just point blank. I mean, a plus 21% edge in the flex and a plus 15% edge in the flex. This is where the models want to play these guys so that we can jam them in together. We also get quite a bit of Jalen Waddle. We're getting some more Matt Prater. We get Tua with a pretty neutral edge there. The big negatives here are James Cook and the Buffalo Bills defense, and I think that makes a lot of sense. So the big thing that the models are telling us today, and the contest sims in general are telling us, is that James Cook's a pretty bad play. Now, again, he is still fine from an exposure standpoint. Right? He still shows up 22% of the time. That's just around 16% less than his projected ownership in the flex. So he's a bit overvalued. That said, he's overvalued in both the captain and the flex positions. So he makes for one of the better fades on the slate, especially at ownership, and especially when considering dupe mitigation. Some other guys, I mean, a lot of this is neutral, right? Kincaid looks like he's overvalued by about 10%. The Bills look like a pretty good fade. Bills defense looks like a pretty good fade. At only 5% exposure and 19% projected ownership in the flex, I think they'll be even higher than that too. So those are kind of the two spots that I think make more sense for a fade because the exposure rates are lower. I'm fine with James Cook if you're playing him, with Achan and Allen. Like if you play Josh Allen and James Cook together in the same lineup, they cancel out to where then you play Achan and now you have plus 21% edge to work with. Remember, when we're going with edges here, we want to add them together. It's the sum of our lineup edge that we care most about. So focus on Josh Allen and Achan in the flex. Those guys are the ones that you need to build around. But After that, so long as you're kind of staying away from the Buffalo Bills defense, I think that you have quite a bit of room to build however you feel like building. The other thing that I wanted to point out here, and this is something that I don't usually point out in my showdown seasons, but uh, in the contest sims, Miami stacks win 62% of the time, whereas Buffalo stacks win 37% of the time. And I think that makes sense with the way that the projection distribution and salary distributions work for these teams. Miami is more affordable. Their medians are a bit better across the band, so you're going to be able to get more of them in lineups and distribute the projections a little bit better, and the outputs a little bit better. And overall, just Buffalo stacks are hard to make work, especially with Josh Allen taking up so much of the fantasy upside. So I think it makes sense that Miami stacks are going to be the ones that you focus on. I also think that if you do it that way, you can play Josh Allen or James Cook or, Keon Coleman, whoever you want as the main pieces for Buffalo. You can play them in a Miami stack, and that's going to give you a little bit of dupe mitigation in and of itself. So let's go ahead and jump over to the portfolio manager. I loaded everything up with the optimals from here, as well as the projections and everything like that, so that we could take a look at some dupe predictions. So the lineup that is projected to have the highest amount of dupes is Josh Allen captain with James Cook, Tanner Connor, Ray Davis, Devon Achane, and Khalil Shakur. So that lineup, do not play this lineup. It's projected for 104 dupes. I'm going to guess that it probably hits somewhere in the 200s or 300s, maybe 500s. I'm not sure. This is going to be a super, super highly duped lineup. Josh Allen ends up being the player that has the most exposure in the captain. 83% of lineups with 80 or more projected dupes have Josh Allen in the captain. He's going to have James Cook, Malik Washington, Devon Achane in the flex, as well as Joshua Palmer. And then after that, I do think you're going to see quite a bit of Tanner Connor. Like, all of these guys kind of are going to be the ones that you see in the most duped lineups, with, Paydirt and Ray Davis as well, kind of being mixed in there a little bit. Both kickers and then Ray Davis. So what I would say is, one, the Miami defense is nowhere to be found here. They probably make for a sick leverage play on the slate and really good dupe mitigation, right? The other thing is that there's no Julian Hill, shout out Gordy Lamb, League of Legends champion. We could just swap him in for Tanner Connor, right? Instead of using Tanner Connor, who's going to have a lot of ownership, we just swap in Julian Hill. And the third thing is, obviously people are off of Miami here, but there's no Tyreek Hill. There's some Tua, but there's no Tyreek Hill. There's some Jalen Waddle. Oh, there's one Tyreek Hill and one Jalen Waddle. So very clearly, people are just going to be ramping up Buffalo stacks here. And we're going to get quite a bit of dupe mitigation by just going with the Miami side. So overall, what I would say is this is a pretty good showdown, mostly because I think that people are just going to be jamming Buffalo stacks. And just looking at the team exposures, that gives us edge. I don't think that you're going to have to try too hard to play things in a way that is unique if you're going with Miami sides. If you are going to go with Buffalo sides, just try to avoid Josh Allen in the captain, and probably try to avoid Achane in the captain as well. I think he's going to probably be, I know that he's going to be the second highest owned captain, but I think he's probably going to end up with quite a bit more dupes as well, because he's more affordable than Josh Allen. People are just going to jam him with Josh Allen in the flex. So try to be careful of playing either one of these guys in the captain, especially if you're going with Buffalo stacks. And if you're going to do that, make sure that you are worried about your salary. I would not play a Josh Allen captain that is over 49K in salary today. I don't think it's just gonna have too high a dupe. So anyway, this is a good showdown. Focus on Achane and Josh Allen in the flex. Focus on either some cheaper captains or some Miami captains. I really like Achane and I really like Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, any of the position players for Miami as captains on this slate. And look to build out more Miami stacks and Buffalo stacks. That's how things are looking. If you like this breakdown, come check out the tools over at paydirtdfs.com. I love you. I appreciate you all. Thanks for the support. And hopefully somebody takes down 500K with the logo. Talk to you later. Bye.